Hey guys, before we get started, I kind of wanted to mention that this circuit is only for educational purposes. Owning something like this can get you in a lot of trouble depending on where you're living. You might have to pay a huge fine, and in other places, you might even face jail time. So be careful when you're making this. The way it's set up in the video and the way I made it, it only transmits from a couple feet to a couple meters. If you do end up transmitting a further distance, it's really easy to find you. And once they find you, you're done. So be careful. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Consider your average radio. Fairly common and easy to use. All you have to do is turn it on and set it to a station you'd like to listen to. But how does this actually work? And how can you, with a little determination, send a message of your very own? To understand AM, we first need to understand what AM stands for. AM stands for amplitude modulation. As we can see here, it's composed of both a message signal and the carrier signal. The message signal changes the amplitude of the carrier signal and to form the final signal here. When the message signal is really low, it's going to change the amplitude of the carrier signal to be really low. And when the height of the message signal is very high, it's going to cause the amplitude of the carrier signal to be very high. And this is considered an amplitude modulated signal. Now, if we look at this amplitude modulated signal, we're going to notice that there's an envelope surrounding the carrier signal. This envelope is actually what defines what we hear on the other end at a radio. Therefore, to make an amplitude modulated signal, we're going to need a way to make a message signal, a carrier signal, and then a way to combine the two. With the theory out of the way, here's a circuit that I came up with. I'm not going to go too far into detail, but what you need to know is that here we're producing our carrier signal, here we're introducing our audio signal, and here we're mixing the two to produce our amplitude modulated signal here. Then over here we have a filtering circuit to make sure we don't have any unwanted harmonics. With the circuit complete, let's start building. And here's the final circuit. Here we're generating our carrier signal, here's our buffer, and here's our voltage controlled amplifier, along with every other component I kind of glossed over earlier. And as you can tell by the music, this circuit's already tuned. So if I change this potentiometer, the music goes away because we're broadcasting on other frequencies. So if I go back, the music comes right back. And that's about it for this circuit. Something I didn't mention earlier is the power supply for this. You're supposed to be using positive and negative 9 volts. Since I don't have a negative voltage supply, I just use 9 volts as my ground, and it achieves the same effect with this ground being 9 volts under and then this supply being 9 volts over. In reality, you could use 2 9-volt batteries, but I wasn't planning on this being super permanent, and I don't even have 2 9-volt batteries. And that's about it for this circuit. If you have any questions, let me know, but with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.